Okay, so tonight we are practicing the Crane Qigong from the Five Animal Frolics, not the fusion of the five elements. Do not be confused. I have the confusion of the five elements here apparently, but this is the Five Animal Frolics. So the Five Animal Frolics, just to give you a brief introduction, is possibly the oldest Qigong that we know about. It was developed mythologically by a person named Dr. Huatou, who's one of these founding figures in traditional Chinese medicine. And this was that doctor's recommended healing movement, Qigong practice, vital energy practice. It's very old, and you can tell that because it's this bridge between kind of later Chinese medicine that becomes a proto-science, right? And then you have these like wave your arms like a bird, which is very much like the animism and the shamanism that these sciences grew out of. So I really love this practice because it's kind of a bridge between worlds. The first practitioners of Chinese medicine were called the Wu, which means shamanic, indigenous, spiritual healers, right? So everything that trickled down in the medicinal tradition of China came from these animist, sort of spiritual healers who were in touch with the natural world. And animal metaphor and animal mimicry was a big part of that. You can see, as we mentioned, Tai Chi. My teacher said all the movements of Tai Chi embody the snake and the crane as the two major sort of totemic animals in the founding of Tai Chi. And as well, you have movements like repulse the monkey and hit the tiger high and low. Poor tiger, but they sacrificed themselves to a good name for a form, I guess. Um, so that's the origin of this Qigong. And then to our knowledge, the details of this Qigong, if they existed, were lost. They weren't written down, but we do know the five main practices. And so if you look around, you'll see different people teaching and practicing the five animal frolics, and they might look quite different, but two of my teachers said that's just fine. The idea is that you should learn to embody the energetics or the essence of what these forms are trying to teach you, and then you make it your own. So even though we don't have, like a scripture of these Qigong exercises that we can make sure, oh, I've got the right lineage and those guys don't have the right lineage, as fun as that game might be, we have something even better, which is an invitation to frolic. So these are the five animal frolics, and I really love it because we will be doing five set forms this evening, these five moves of the crane from a certain tradition. And, they have their specific form, but my opinion is that the point is actually that you're supposed to play with the movements. You're supposed to sort of just take them loosely and lightly and see how they want to manifest through your body and how you might gain the most benefit from that. So those are the five animal frolics. And tonight we are doing the crane or the bird. Sometimes you'll see it as the bird, sometimes you'll see it as the crane frolic. But what we should have, and you'll get as we practice, is this is a sort of soaring bird or a large wingspanned bird. And the outer method that we're going to make with our wingspan is going to be congruent with the inner method that we practice, which is this sense of self-liberation and soaring in the sky. So this goes together. The other thing with this wingspan is that this is said to open up the lung and large intestine meridian, which flow down to your thumb and up from your index finger, respectively. And then the lungs themselves have, you can't say selves without elves. I just noticed that. That's also pretty fun. Sorry, the frolic is already with me, so please bear with me here. Um, but these crucial points for the lungs, such as its alarm point on the front and this point on this front channel that strongly affects the lungs and the heart, and then the lungs themselves, as well as their access points in the back, are all stimulated through these various kind of wing flapping movements that we're going to do in the physical form. So you have the physical form that flaps your lungs and your lung meridian. The lungs are also said, in this case, the metal element of the lungs are said to alchemically cool the fire element of the heart. In this case, they have sort of this, it's not the usual controlling cycle of the five elements for you Chinese medicine aficionados, but it's said to have this sort of alchemical effect that the lungs can help to draw off heat from the heart. So we'll be doing that. And then, as well, this metal element in Chinese medicine is associated with the emotion of grief. If you saw my newsletter that came out today, I mentioned that briefly. It's associated with this season if you're in the northern hemisphere. So the leaves are falling, and in the classics of Chinese medicine, and then these proto-Chinese medicine Taoist classics that come before them, they say this is the time when we should like contemplate impermanence. Versus in the spring, don't do as much death meditation. Do more compassion meditations and what's my purpose in life. But in the autumn, it's natural to go like, oh wow, everything, I am of the nature to age. I am of the nature to die. Um, that's not such bad news, people like the Buddha found out, because there's another facet of our existence, right? So, to a certain facet of our existence, when we say, "Oh, I'm of the nature to age and to die," part of us goes like, "Oh shit, that sucks, man. I try not to think about that all day." But then, even in modern times, you don't even have to go all the way to the Buddha or Lao Tzu. People will take their ketamine therapy or something, some of these recognized emerging therapies, or they'll take iboga treatment for to cure addiction in one treatment, really weirdly. And one of the things that often happens is people walk through their own death and realize it wasn't so bad because the one that's having the oh shit moment is this little self that isn't really who you are. And then there's this whole other expanse of being that we could abide in that, it, they don't say it's not impermanent. It's like, oh, impermanence, permanence. What are you even talking about, man? I'm here soaring on the thermals of the sky of mind. So this is kind of what the crane qigong opens up, but you may experience that state experience through this qigong. And I just go into this to give you a little cultural context, but also because they're all interwoven in these yogic traditions. They believe in the yogis from many different places in the world. They believe that if you do something that affects the energetic body, such as these various kind of wing movements that we'll be doing, these state experiences in your mind are that much easier rather than sitting down. My own experience has been if you sit down and wait for those state experiences, like it takes a number of days of retreat to get to that spaciousness unless you're really well practiced. Like you have to wait till everything sort of settles down. But what I've experienced is that with the Qigong, by the end of the practice, often I can catch a glimpse of that. And then I go back to my meditation seat and I can take that with me, that sense that I've glimpsed through facilitating it through these body movements, through these frolickings, and various kind of breath exercises. So, that's what we're about. That's your introduction. Do you have anything that you want to say back about that before we get started? You can chat box it or you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, we'll just get into doing some movement. Do I see a hand or is that just exercise going on back there?
Uh, I was just moving my arm because I think on the lung meridian, I found a very sore.
Yeah,
And I think because of life right now.
yeah, yeah. So you're a natural crane back
Yeah, just
there.
doing it.
Good for you. Okay, well, let's do some formal version then. So I'm going to stand for this practice, but all of these you could do in a seat if balance was challenging or you had an injured knee or something like that. So find yourself your stance or your seat. I'll make sure my camera is adjusted properly. See if we can keep this fancy microphone working properly. Okay. And here we go. Let's do the opening gestures from my teacher's lineage that we do every time. So bringing your feet together, your right hand makes a fist, your left hand is an open palm. You embrace the fist with the palm, and then we bow, symbolizing sharing the heart together. And then we circle back, signifying connecting through that sharing of the heart. Bring your feet shoulder width apart, hands to your center. We practice the 3 Qi awakening exercises. So we're going to inhale, reaching up toward the sky, and exhale, gathering energy into your center. Inhale, reaching up, and exhale, gathering into the center. 3, 2 more times, and 1 more time. Second exercise, imagine your feet grow into tree roots that reach down into the earth. We inhale and draw that earth stability into the body. And then exhale, the arms float down. The energy gathers back in your center. So inhale from underground through your roots. Exhale, coalescing the chi in that lower belly. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more times. And 1 more time. Third exercise, opening the heart, palms up. You'll inhale to your heart. Hold the breath, feel the heart expand and open. And then exhale like you're radiating and shining out from the heart. And release. And the good news is this works even if you don't feel like shining your heart. You can just visualize it and do the hand motions, and it actually still works pretty good. So we inhale to the heart. We hold the breath, expand, and then radiate out. 2 more. And 1 more. And release it down. We're going to practice 1 minute mindfulness. So standing in the Wuji posture, the knees are unlocked. The crown reaches up toward the North Star. Everything else relaxes from that point. You can bring your gaze down or even close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And take a moment just to take a snapshot of how the body feels. Engaging in non-judgmental awareness, just noting the body, the knees, the elbows, the organs, the teeth, the tongue, whatever you notice. Hello, body. This is how it is right now. Be aware of your breath. And then be aware of your mind. Thoughts, the emotions. Just notice how the mind is right now. And when you're ready, take a big breath in. Let it out with a sigh. And relax. Let's practice shaking heaven to earth to loosen up the body and the mind. So we're going to shake out our hands. And at the same time, we'll practice the inner smile. So smiling into your wrists and your fingers, all the little bones of the hands. And then take that into your elbows. Inner smile to the elbows, feeling the elbows getting spacious. Take it into the shoulders. And then come forward like a gorilla. Ooh, you get one free animal today, gorilla. And then take it back like you're at a Grateful Dead tribute concert. And then gorilla again. And then back, Mickey Hart reunion or something. All right, and then the tummy. We're gonna smile to those inner organs. Just imagine like we're waking those up, making space in all those inner organs. And then if you can balance, you'll pick up a leg and shake it out. You're also welcome to hang onto a wall, or even you can keep that toe down and just kind of shake everything. We're trying to shake open that hip, the knee, the ankle, and then like a big salt shaker. Imagine you can just shake tension out of the body down into the ground for compost. Do the other side from the hip to the knee, the ankle, and the composting. Come back to center. Let's ring the temple gong. So we're going to twist. And on this one, you're welcome to pick up the heel or leave the heel down. Either one of those has just a slightly different effect. For tonight, for the frolics, just see which one you like better. Then let's all pick up the heel and come up and give yourself a pat on the back. And then try this, pick up the toe and give yourself a swat on the behind. Good. Come back to center. We'll do pull down the heavens 3 times. So we're going to inhale, reach up. Exhale with an audible sigh. Pull all the way down. 2 more times. One more time. And then once again into the Wuji posture. Brief 1 minute mindfulness. Note the body. And already I can feel some changes in my body, like I feel my hands kind of tingling. Note if there are any changes for you. Then notice your breath. And notice your mind. Good. When you're ready, take a big breath in. Let it out with a sigh. And relax. All right, so warm-up's complete. Let's get into our crane Qigong. So I'll be mirroring you for a lot of these because it should be the easiest way to do this on TV. Um, if the rights or lefts get confused at any time, just feel free to kind of make it up and you should be just fine. It's pretty simple Qigong. So for this first one, let's take your left foot and you're going to bring it back behind you like a little kickstand. Now, if that's difficult to balance, you can also do the same thing with your legs equal standing. But if it's all right for you, put one leg back so most of the weight is on this front leg and the other leg is just back being a little kickstand. The other thing sometimes you can do if balance is challenging, is you can do this hanging onto a wall or even your little trekking pole can work for some of these postures. So this one is the crane stretches its wings. So with that left foot back, you're going to start by one hand. It kind of doesn't matter which one, but let's see if I can get this right on the first try. So the front leg hand is going to go forward and the back leg hand is going to go to your side. And then those 2 hands are going to float down. And then they switch. So now that back leg hand comes forward and the front leg hand comes to your side. And then they float down. So we inhale, front leg hand in front. And we exhale. Then we inhale, back leg hand in front. And we exhale. And then we inhale, front leg hand in front. And we exhale. And one more time, back leg hand in front. And exhale. Then two hands are going to float up. Now here's where the balance gets tricky. If you can, you're going to float that back leg up off the ground and stretch your tail feathers out. If that balance is impossible, leave it on the ground, but stretch it. Then you're just going to step in shoulder width. Place your hands on the cloud and float back down. Let's try the other side. So now your right foot, if you're mirroring me, will go back. And this left hand is going to float up in front. That right hand is going to float out to the side. Then you exhale, they float back down. Then you reverse it. The front hand floats to the side and the back hand floats up to the front. And you exhale and float it down. Inhale, front hand to the front. Exhale. Inhale, front hand to the side. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And let's do one more. Then float it down. Two hands float up. And then see if you can fly up and stretch that tail feather out behind you. When you're ready, step down. Hands just float up onto the cloud and settle. Let's do one more round each side. So putting the left foot back. And we're going to inhale and flap those wings. And exhale, float them down. Inhale, flap those wings. And exhale, float them down. You haven't taken off yet. So this is sort of like when the bird stretches out those wings like in the sun. And exhale. Inhale up. And exhale down. One more on each side. Last time. Bring it down. Two hands float up. And then stretch the tail feathers out behind you. You can fly up as high as you like or stay as close to the ground as you like. And you float it back shoulder width, hands to the cloud, and settle. Other side, right foot back. Inhale and stretch those wings. Exhale, float them down. Inhale and stretch those wings. Exhale and float them on down. Inhale, front leg hand to the front. Exhale. Inhale, back leg hand to the front. And exhale. One more set. Then two hands float up. And stretch the tail feathers. Fly up a little. Balance best you can. Step it down. And settle. Pause and notice. Okay, then the next one is the crane that looks back. And this one I always think of as like when they're like, taking their beak and like getting those feathers back in behind them. But we also have some work on this lung meridian that we're going to be doing. So this happens in a cross stance. And let's see how you do with this. Your left foot, if you're mirroring me, is going to come to the front, and then the foot turns to the side. So my legs are in kind of this twisted stance. If I show you from the side angle, my legs are in this kind of twisted stance. And this is going to help me twist my upper body, which is part of this particular movement. So that left foot forward, take your twisted stance to the best of your ability, and then you're going to get your wings up here, and you're going to inhale and open them, and exhale and close them. So in this one, my arms aren't necessarily going too far, but I really want that chest to open and then the chest to close. So flap those wings a bit on your own. Different teachers show the breath for this differently. I like inhaling on the open, exhaling on the close, but you can experiment with the breathing. If balance is a challenge, you could have that front hand on a chair and just do this with the rear wing and still get a really good exercise. And then just for fun, try stretching those wings out. When you're ready, step it on back and relax. We'll do the other side. So the right foot's going to come forward. Take a little twisted stance. Twist that torso. And now we're going to work those lungs, stretching the chest open and closing it down. Stretching the chest open and closing it down. And be creative with what you want to do with your wings. Maybe they're doing a lot. Maybe you're keeping it close to really just focus on that chest movement. Be creative with the breath. And that back wing is really where the magic is happening. So if you needed to hang on to something for the balance, that's just fine. Couple more rounds. Last round. And then step it on back. Settle the chi. Pause for a moment and notice. Okay, the next move is taking flight. So these first moves are kind of, stretch the wings, stretch the wings. Oh, look back and stretch the wings. And then you're ready to take off. So we're going to put one foot forward, and unless you're seated, of course, but the easy way to do this is to have that toe on the ground, touching the ground. So when we do this in a moment, we'll be doing this exercise where now that we've opened that chest, we're really going to use it to get this sense of flapping these big wings. And if you can, though, you're going to have this leg up and sort of floating. Let's see if it looks okay from the side. So this leg isn't doing, it's not doing like a stance or something. It's sort of floating there as you do these wing beats. And I don't know if you've seen this in person or on like a nature documentary or something, but a lot of these big water birds, when they take off, they got these dangly legs. The landing gear trails behind them for a minute until it tucks up. So I think that's what they were representing in this. So you're really leaving this leg kind of hanging down. And when you do it correctly, my experience is you get this feeling almost like you're like what it would feel like to have these big wings that sort of beat the body up into the sky. So let's give it a try. Why don't you put that left leg either touching for balance or kind of a straight leg that's hanging there. suspended. Then we bring those wings up to the side. You're not all the way out at your side because this is sort of a strain. It's really at this angle, like a hugging sort of shape. We open up. Remember, it's the chest that's opening. And then the chest closes and we lap those wings. So we inhale and float up. We exhale and beat those wings. And if you like, you could even imagine that feeling of being propelled off the earth. Two more times. One more time. And then just switch legs. We're going to float up and then beat those wings. If you can use the imagination to really have that sense of like taking flight, you're welcome to do that, or just focus on the sensations, on the breath. And I think we got one more on this side. Go ahead and rest down. And let's settle the chi by placing the hands on the cloud. And just settle. Brief moment, just notice body, breath, and mind. And then the next sequence is the soaring in the sky. So for this one, you're going to extend your wings out. And then the imagination is like a bird riding on the thermals in the air. This is a spontaneous Qigong. So you're just going to allow your body to move and sort of visualize or imagine that you're soaring in the sky. The air currents lift you up. And then occasionally you might feel like you need to beat those wings, or even your little wings might get tired because you're not used to flying. It's a long migration, maybe. So you give it a couple of flaps, take a rest. And then when you've got the sense of it, you're also welcome to change your stance. So you could put one foot forward, practice. See if you enjoy that, or you could even shift from stance to stance. And then once you have it, you could even move. We'll do a slow motion version for today, but you could even dance with these inner methods. And then slowly coming back to your original place. When you're ready, you can let those arms descend down. Just pause there and notice. And then our final exercise, we're going to bring our feet close together. This is the crane landing. So we're going to inhale and bring those hands, the hands crossed, doesn't matter which one's in front or on top. When you exhale, you're going to bend the knees a little or a lot. And then you inhale, you cross those wrists again. Come all the way up. Exhale, coming into land. Inhaling up. So this is attuning to that sky-like expanse and then bringing it down. We're stimulating the meridians of the legs and the feet, grounding all that expansiveness in the body, and even discharging any excess into the earth. One more time. We'll come up, hands crossed, and then settle the chi. Bring our feet back shoulder width, and we'll do 3 rounds of pulling down the heavens. So we'll inhale up, exhale down with the sigh. 2. And 3. And then 1 minute meditation. So just standing and recall in these 5 moves of this Qigong practice anything that was enjoyable to you, any insights or state experiences that sort of lit up during your practice. Let's just take a few breaths to savor that. So for me, it was that feeling of that sort of sky-like soaring mind. So I'll try to bring it back and just abide with that. And then imagine that any benefit of this practice or any of these expansive states or energies that you may have glimpsed, imagine them integrating into your cells and into your bones, harmonizing with your system in the most beneficial way. So any energies or stimulus that you don't need, they just roll off down through your heels like a waterfall. Any nourishing experiences are soaked into your bones and into the nuclei of your cells and deep into your being. And when you're ready, take a big breath in. Exhale with a sigh. And bring that practice to completion. Rock out on your feet. This just gives you a little reflexology massage on the soles of your feet. Helps to shift you out of meditation in case you went into a state that might be jarring if you start to move around. And then let's come back and just have a conversation for a few minutes. So one thing I'll say just before I shift over to the gallery view and see all your faces, I was reminded in the end of the practice there, Lama Yeshe, this famous Tibetan Buddhist teacher, says something along the line of that these yogic practices are all about bliss. They're all about pleasure. And um, in these type of practices, it's not about how much pain can you take. It's about how much pleasure can you take. And in this case, one thing that comes to my mind is that experience of sort of the soaring mind or the expansive mind is actually quite restful and quite blissful, but it takes training to be able to maintain that to any degree. So I notice my own mind, it goes like, wow, how cool. And then the mind starts to go like, yeah, but what about tomorrow? There's a lot on the schedule. And so there's this discipline of going like, can I sustain the crane? That's going on the t-shirt, sustain the crane. Um, and it's this training, how much bliss can you take, right? Eventually, for the yogis, their goal was to be able to think about the schedule and never leave the sky-like mind, to soar through life in that way. But for now, we can toggle back and forth and just see if we can expand those blissful territories. So this is our set. I'm just going to give a verbal completion because I'll end the recording. And then those of you who are here live, we can just have a little conversation. But those of you who are here from the future, thank you.